Hello all, welcome back to my YouTube channel Learn with Pam. So in today's video we'll start with the new concept or new chapter that is called as exception in PLSQL. So what actually is exception? In which cases the exception may arise and what are the different types of exception and how the exceptions are handled we will cover in this video. So basically what is exception? So exception is nothing but it is an error occurred during the runtime of any program. So when you compile the program and when you try to execute the program, the error may occur. So this error is called as exception. So whenever the runtime error occur, use an appropriate exception handler under exception section. So basically when this error is going to occur, then we have to handle the exception under the exception section in the block. So there is a special section called as exception in which we have to write a specific type of exception. So if at all any a certain exception is going to arise, that specific exception we have to write in exception section so that this particular exception or error can be handled under this exception section. So I will show you in detail in the upcoming lecture. So what are the different types of exception? So first is predefined exception. So predefined exceptions are also called as system defined exception. So Oracle defined 20 predefined exceptions names exception names for regularly occurred errors. So whenever these errors occur, use an appropriate exception. So basically the predefined exceptions are defined by the system. We will discuss in detail what are the different types. Then next is user defined exception. So user defined exceptions means the exceptions which are defined by the user and those exceptions will be used whenever we are required. So those exceptions will be raised and will be handled in the exception section. So let's talk about predefined exception. So in predefined exception you can see there are 8 types of predefined exception which we will be studying in this video. So first is no data found, then too many values, zero divide, invalid cursor, cursor already open, then invalid number, value error and others. So let's talk in detail each type of exception. So first is no data found. So what does this no data found says that if the data is not available in the table for any select statement, then the no data exception may arise. So whenever you are firing a query, whenever you are firing the query like select query, and if at all the record is not present in the table, then the block will throw an error that is called as no data found error. So let me show you with the example, detailed example. So next, I have written a block of code which is without exception. Means the exception is not handled in this block of code. So let me explain you this code. To create or replace procedure. So I have created a procedure, simple procedure named as P1 and the parameter is passed that is P underscore employee number which is of number data type. Then is V underscore cell number size 10. This is a variable which is declared in the declare section. Next, from here the block of code begins. So select sal. So I want to fetch salary of the employee. So select sal into v underscore sal. So this is my declared variable. In this variable, I am storing the sal which is fetched from the table. That is from EMP1 table, where employee number is equal to p underscore employee number. So this p underscore employee number is nothing but it is a parameter which is passed during the execution of a procedure. So the employee number which is belonging to this p underscore employee number will be taken into this employee number and the corresponding salary will be fetched and stored into this v underscore sal, that is variable, and we will try to print the fetched salary, that is v underscore sal, and end the block. So let us compile this code. Now in this case we have not handle exception. So before that let me show the table data corresponding this employee number. So let me show you the table data. Before executing, let me show you the data from the table. So select star from EMP1 where EMP number is equal to this employee number I want. So we are going to pass this employee number which is having no record in this table. So let me show you the data. So you will see that there is no record of corresponding employee, that is 79022. So let us execute the above procedure. So procedure name is P1. So P1 I am executing. So to execute the procedure, we have exec P1 and the parameter or employee number which is passed of number data type is 7900. So if I execute this procedure, give the error that is no data was found from the object. So this is no data found error. You will see this is error. We can see this is ORA 06512 at line number 1. So this error is arising. So that is no data found. So you will see here also. So error report ORA 01403 no data found. So this was the error. Now if this error is coming in the block of code, we have to handle the error or we have to handle the exception. Now in the next case I have used the exception section or we have handled this error. So how to handle the error? All the stuff, all the code is same, only I have added the additional part, that is exception. So this is the exception section. All the block of code is same as that of previous. Simply I have added one section, that is exception. Now this type of exception is first exception, that was no data found. When you fire the select query, the error may arise that no data found if the existing record is not present in the table. So to handle this exception, we are writing under the exception section when no data found. So this is a type of error. Let me show you. So these are the different types. From this we are discussing about first error or exception, that is no data found. So here you will see here in exception we are writing no data found. So when no data found, then we have to print dbms underscore output dot put underscore line no data found of entered employee number, right? So this, if the error is going to come, this will be handled, or the error, or we can say the control will move into the exception section and it will check whether the corresponding exception is handled or not. Now in this case, the corresponding employee number will not be present in the employee table. Then it will move to the exception section and it will check whether no data found exception is handled or not. It will find the no data found exception is present, which is handled. Then it will print this line, that is no data found of entered employee number. So let us compile this procedure first. So I have compiled the procedure. So P1 compiled successfully. Now let's try to execute. Now I am adding the same parameter, that is 79022. So this employee number is not present in the table. So if I fire this query, you will see that the exception or procedure successfully compiled. So before executing, we have to set server output on. So let us set first server output on so that it will show the results. So when you are logging into your Oracle application, you have to fire this query first so that the procedure or any other block will be executed. You will see here no data found, no data found of entered employee number. So this statement is printed, that is exception is handled successfully. So this is how the first exception can be handled. Now let's move on to the second type of exception, that is too many rows. Now what does this too many rows states? That if the select into clause returns values more than one. Now I already talked about select into clause in the cursor. So if you have any queries or if you have any doubts regarding select into clause or procedure, you can watch our previous videos. I have already uploaded in the playlist called as PLSQL full course. So if the select into clause is going to return more than one value, then this type of exception will occur. That is too many rows or too many values. Now again, when the select into clause will try to return more than one record or more than one value, then Oracle server will return an error, that is ORA 1422 exact fetch returns more than requested number of rows. Let me show you this stuff in the code. So let me show you the data from the table. So this is the data from table, that is EMP1 table. So this is EMP1 table. Now let us fire the query. Now see the block of code I am executing. So this is the block of code. Now in this block of code I have not handled exception. So which exception may arise? That is too many rows. Now this too many rows may arise. So in which case the too many rows will arrive? Let me show you. So declare section, I have declared variable that is v underscore ename of varchar to size 20. Then begin, again select ename. So I want to know the employee name from emp1 table. So I am fetching this record and I am storing into the variable that is v underscore ename from emp1 table. So this is emp1 table, and I have not specified the where condition. When I am not specifying the where condition, all the enames will be printed. If this is the case, all the emp name, that is ename, will be printed. Now, if this is the select into clause, as I talked earlier, that select into clause will compulsory return a single value, or it will store a single value only. If you are trying to fetch multiple values or records, it will throw an error. So this is the type of error, that is too many rows. It is returning the too many rows. So if I print dbms underscore output put underscore line v underscore ename, it will not print anything. It will throw an error. So let us try to run this code, that is anonymous block. So if I run this code, you will see the error. You can see the error where the error is showing. So exact, that is aura 01422, exact fetch returns more than requested number of rows. So the select into clause is returning more than one value, that is more than one row is returning. So that's why the error is coming. So to handle this error, let me show you in the next section, that is with exception. So now let's handle this stuff. Now I have added the exception section in this case, and I have handled the exception, that is too many rows. Now this statement is returning too many values which are more than one. Now to handle this exception, what the control, when I start the execution of the program, the execution will start from the top to bottom. So it will start from here, from declare section to begin section. So from here, in select statement, it will throw an error. So ename into v underscore ename means it is returning more values. So if this is the error, it will move to the exception section. It will search the specific exception, whether it is handled or not. Now this is the exception called as too many rows. Now I have handled the exception, that is when too many rows, then print this statement. So it will move to the exception section, and it will search for the too many rows exception. Now here we have written too many rows exception. So that's why it will move to this type of exception, and it will try to print this statement, that is too many rows or too many values are returning. So this will be printed here. So let us try to execute this block. So first we will compile this block. Yes, now this is procedure is successfully compiled. Now let's try to execute this. So you will see here, after executing, it is showing that too many values are returning. So this statement is fired. So when it is returning to the exception, this statement will be fired, that is it is handled successfully. So abnormal termination of program can be avoided or prevented by using the exceptions. So this is the significance of using the exception. So I hope this part is pretty much clear about these two types of exception, that is no data found and too many values. Now let's move on to the third type of exception, that is zero divide. So when this error or exception is going to arise, so when you are trying to divide any number with zero, when you are trying to divide any number with zero, then this exception may arise. So now I have written one block of code without handling the exception. So you can see here, declare a number. So this is a variable number of size 10. I am assigning the value as 10. Likewise, b is a number of size 10. I am assigning value as 0. And c, simply I have declared number of size 10. Now begin section, c. Now you will see here, c is equal to a by b. So a value is 10 and b value is 0. So I am trying to divide any number with 0. Now in this case, the exception may arise, that is 0 divide error. So if I run this anonymous block, you will see the error. You will see the error report aura 01476, divisor is equal to 0. So b, that is divisor, is equal to 0, means it is not possible to divide by 0. So let's handle this exception. So now we will handle into the exception section. So declare again same stuff, a, b and c. In begin section I have divided A by B means B value of B is 0. You will see here B 0. DBMS underscore output C I am printing here. C means A by B, whatever the value is going to come, that will be printed here. But this will throw the error as I am dividing A by 0 or 10 by 0, it will throw an error. Now it will move to the exception section. The controller will move to the exception section. It will search the specific exception, that is 0 divide exception. So I have written when 0 underscore divide. So see the syntax 0 underscore divide, then dbms underscore output dot put underscore line divide by 0 not possible. So this is the syntax of handling all the types of exception. So we have to write when in the exception section, you have to write when 0 divide. Now this is of type 0 divide exception. So I'm writing 0 divide. If at all the exception is of type no data found, you have to write no underscore data underscore found. Then specific statement you can print. Also too many rows. You can write when TWO underscore MANY underscore rows, then write this statement. Likewise, we can handle the error or exception. Now in this case, we have handled the exception in the exception section. So dbms underscore output. So d0 divide by 0 is not possible. So this will be printed on the console. So if I execute this block of code, you will see that the exception will be handled. You will see the exception section handled properly, that is divide by 0 not possible. So this statement is fired. So I hope this part is pretty much clear about next type of exception, that was 0 divide. Now let's move on to the next part, that is invalid cursor. So how the invalid cursor exception is handled, let me show you. Now see in which cases the invalid cursor will arise, let me show you. So I hope you know the concepts regarding the cursor. If you don't know or if you have any queries regarding cursors, you can watch our previous video on cursor. So I have added the link in the description box. You will find the video in the playlist called as PLSQL. Now in declare section, I have declared the cursor. So cursor name is C1 is select star from EMP1. So I am fetching all the records from EMP1 to this cursor. Next, I have declared one more variable of I named as I C1 percentage row type. So again, we have we have explained in detail about percentage row type and percentage type attributes. Those are variable attributes. So percentage row type, this is variable of I type in which we can fetch multiple data type values of different data types. Begin open C1, so cursor is open. Loop fetch C1 into I. Then dbms underscore output dot put underscore line I underscore ename. I dot ename means this will print all the ename of all the employees, and the loop will be exit when C1 percentage not found. End loop and close C1. Now in this case, this is invalid cursor exception means let us try to run this code. So if I execute this code, you will see that all the employee names will be printed. All the employee names from the table, that is King, Blake, Clark, Ford, Smith. Likewise, all the e-names will be printed. Now let me do one change in this code. That is, I will not open the cursor and I will try to close the cursor. So I am commenting this open C1. Means without opening cursor, I am trying to close the cursor. So let's see what error will take place. So if I run this code, you will see that invalid cursor error will come. So you will see that invalid cursor because before opening the cursor we are trying to close the cursor. So this is the next type of error, that is invalid cursor. Now let's try to handle this invalid cursor exception. So you can see the next section I have used the exception handling. So with exception, so declare again cursor C1 is all the stuff is same, and you will see here I have not opened the cursor. So begin loop fetch C1 into I, all the stuff is same as that of previous. So this code as it is I have copied here. Now in this case I have not opened the cursor. You will see there is no opening of cursor is done. Directly I am trying to close the cursor. Now again in this case the error may arise, that is invalid cursor. So I have handled this error in the exception section. That is exception when invalid underscore cursor, then dbms underscore output we will print invalid cursor, that is cursor should open first before closing. So I have closed the cursor. I am trying to close cursor before opening the cursor. You will see there is no statement that is open cursor or open C1. So before opening, I am trying to close. So that's why the invalid cursor will arise. So if I run this code, you will see the output like invalid cursor, that is cursor should open first before closing. So I hope this next type of cursor is pretty much clear in this video. So in the next video, we'll cover the remaining four types of errors or exceptions. So in this video, we have covered no data found exception, too many values, zero divide, and invalid cursor. So let's revise this stuff. So no data found error or exception will arise when the select statement does not return anything. Next, too many values. If the select statement is going to return more than one value, then this error or exception may arise. That is too many values. Next, zero divide. If we are trying to divide any number with zero, then this exception is arrive, that is zero underscore divide. Next, invalid cursor. So if you are trying to close cursor without opening, then this exception is arrived, that is invalid cursor. So I hope these four types of exceptions are pretty much clear. We'll cover the next type of exceptions in the next video. So if you found this video pretty much clear, please do subscribe my channel and press the icon. So that's all for this video. We'll meet in the next video. Thank you and have a wonderful day ahead.